move every year. If you were here last night, you heard Lisa Whittle say that moving is dumb. So, if you've ever moved, you have probably felt that way. I have moved a lot with my husband's job. We moved a lot. I moved a lot before then as well. So I have a lot of experience in moving, and over the years I've gained a lot of information. I have a ton of moving tips, but y'all, so does Pinterest. So the best thing you can do, honestly, if you're moving, is get on Pinterest, create a moving board, and just start gathering tips. Just share everything you can in there because they have lots of information. One thing I will tell you is get a binder, get one with tabs and pockets, and keep that binder with you because it will be your moving assistant. But what you won't really find so much of on Pinterest or even a Google search is about what I want to share with you, and that's the emotional aspect of moving. You don't really even have to be moving geographically to a new area. You could be starting a new job, maybe moving into a new church or school. Maybe you're newly single or you're starting a new relationship. You know, any kind of change, much of what I'm going to share with you will apply to that. So to say that moving is stressful is an understatement. Okay, even if you're excited about moving or the new change that is taking place, it still takes a toll on you. But y'all, we do not have to ride that roller coaster because we have a helper. And so the first thing that I would tell you to do is seek the Lord. Ask the Lord to help you every step of the way. And just like that binder that I talked about would be your moving assistant, we have a personal assistant in the Holy Spirit. And, you know, he gives us all of the wisdom, all of knowledge, all of strength. He can even help us rejoice in the stressful times. So really look to him. And, you know, when you're moving, you're busy, and we just kind of want to hit the ground running and get everything done. That's not the time to neglect your time in the Word. Every day you need to get before him. You're going to need his power. You're going to need his presence to sustain you when you're going through things, any kind of change. So really just rely on him. I like to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to give me a plan. And I think I like praying that way because I like lists. You know, we talked about lists. And, you know, everything we do is kind of like a process. We take different steps to get from, you know, point A to point B or point Z, or, you know, whatever we're doing. And so for me, I like those lists because they, you know, I like to see what I've got to do. I like crossing the list off. Anybody else like making lists? I mean, I think we all do. Because I think for me, it helps me maintain some control. I know what's got to be done. I know what I've got to get done. But what if I'm at a place where I don't know what to do? And I don't know where to go or what steps to take? That's when I like to ask the Holy Spirit to give me a plan and help me implement that plan. And he really does, and he will lead us, you know, step by step. So, and we heard Lisa talk about Proverbs. And I love the Proverbs 3:5 translation in the Passion. And it says, trust in the Lord completely. Do not rely on your own opinions. With all your heart, rely on him to guide you, and he will lead you in every decision you make. So, you know, we don't always see the big picture. We don't always know the steps to take. But if we look to him, then we know that we don't have to worry. We don't have to stress about whether we're making the right decision. When we're moving, or really any change, oftentimes it means letting go. It means saying goodbye, and that's really hard. You might be saying goodbye to friends or family. Our first move across country was really particularly difficult for me. I'd left my best friend. We left our circle of friends, our church that we were, you know, really heavily involved in. I was so sad. I mean, I was just so sad for a long time. And I look back now and I see where I made mistakes and things that I could have done differently. One thing, we didn't have social media back then. Okay, so, well, we didn't even have a computer or cell phones. It was a long time ago. But it made it difficult for me to stay in connection with my old friends. But that was really a good thing, you know, looking back, because social media, if we let it, it can keep us from moving from, one place into the other. We can keep one foot here and one foot here and never really move on to the new place. And I remember when we moved here, it was 5 years ago, and our boys were in 8th and 9th grade. We moved to North Carolina. And y'all, they really barely skipped a beat missing their friends, because they had their phones and then they would come home and there's live gaming. Okay, so they would get on their video games and, I'd be walking by and I'd be like, wait, that sounds like Hayden, And it's just like they were down the street. And so they really didn't have to branch out. They weren't really lonely like I was when we moved that first time. And so, just kind of kept them from going out and meeting new friends. So we saw that pretty quickly and kind of, started putting some limits on that. But isolation is a tool of the enemy. And I think especially for women, it's really easy for us to become isolated. And if we let it, social media can really halt our making connections. It's really easy to hide behind the screen. And I'm guilty of it. I have friends in different parts of the country, some of my best friends, and we talk, we do Zoom calls like every couple of weeks, and but you have to get out and meet new people. So you got to get outside of your comfort zone. It's not always easy. It's not, and so many of us are introverts, and it's hard to get out. And but growth comes outside your comfort zone. So I want to look at some of the ways that we can connect. If you're in a new area, or if you're in a new, just a new phase of life, get in church, okay? That's my first recommendation. Find a church, but don't just go on Sunday, Joe, because you can't form relationships that way. Join a small group, start serving, come to events like this. My first Generations event was last year, my first conference, and we had only been in the church just a few months. I had joined a Bible study, but I'd only been twice, so I really didn't know anybody. But I came and I walked in the door, and the greeter said, "Do you have somebody to sit with?" Well, about that time, one of the ladies from my Bible study was walking through the door, and I saw her and I said, "Yes, I'm sitting with her, but she doesn't know it yet." So, I just went over to her and I said, "Can I sit with you?" And of course she said yes. And I kind of just stuck by her the whole, weekend, and the friends that she was with, I don't know what they thought, but we're still friends, so I guess it's okay. But, so just put yourself out there. Just be brave. Some other things that you can do if you're in a new area is to volunteer. If you have kids, volunteer at the school. That'll help them as well. Join clubs. There's all kinds of volunteer activities. Get out and meet your neighbors. There's no welcome wagon anymore, ladies, so don't wait for them to come to you. Most importantly, just discuss things with your family. Keep things open. Pray with them. Pray for them. They're going to take their cues from you. If you have the right attitude, if you have a positive attitude going into it, then they're going to have the same attitude. I want to close with something I really felt the Lord wanted me to share. I was kind of like, I don't know if I should end, on this, but I really felt like maybe this is for somebody. Sometimes you move outside of God's will. Sometimes you make the wrong decision. You might move to the wrong place. You might get in the wrong relationship, whatever it is. I've done it. Maybe you've done it. I want to encourage you if you have. In Mark chapter 6, verse 45, we find Jesus and the disciples. And this is after they were fed the 5,000. So Jesus tells the disciples to get in the boat and go ahead of him to Bethsaida. So they get in the boat and they're out on the water, and a big storm comes, and they're struggling, and they're straining at the oars, and Jesus sees that they're having trouble making headway. So sometime before morning, he goes out there and he gets in the boat and he calms the storm, and they continue on their journey. Beginning in verse 53, it tells us that they made landfall at Gennesaret. They got out of the boat. I know I'm going to get emotional about this, but they got out of the boat and they went through the whole region healing the sick. I guess because I've made mistakes and I've gone in the wrong direction, and God was there for me. So what I want you to see in this is where they landed. Okay, they started out, Jesus said go to Bethsaida, but they landed somewhere else because the storm got in the way. and the storm moved them someplace else. But what did they do? They got out of the boat and they just went on, and they just continued to do what they had intended to do. So if you mess up, if you go in the wrong direction, God is faithful, and He's gonna turn things around, and He's gonna keep you right on the path that He wants you to be on. And you can't mess up what God has for you to do.
That's good. Thank
That's
you.
good.